how to delete credentials in Jenkins. Here's today's starting point. I have a Jenkins LTS controller, version 2.426.1. Now what we're going to be trying to do in this video is deleting credentials that are defined on a controller. So let's go ahead and go into Manage Credentials. So we'll say Manage Jenkins. We'll go down to Credentials. And within credentials, you can see that we have two different credentials here. I have a vagrant credential and I also have a user1 credential. User1 is the credential that we want to delete. So let's go ahead and click into user1 and notice here that we have an option to click on delete. Then are you sure you want to delete this? And we could say yes. But let's look at a different way that we can take a look at deleting this credential from the UI. So we'll go back up into credentials. This time I'm going to click on the system store. So here we see global credentials. I'll go ahead and click into that. Notice how we have the credentials listed a little bit differently here. Here I have user1, user pass. If I click on the drop down that shows up over the hover, I could click on delete here. And again, I could delete, but don't want to do it just yet. Let's go back. Notice here that we also have a gear. So if I click on the gear update, then we also have more information about updating this credential, but I also still have a delete on the left nav that I could go ahead and click on. Now let's go ahead and do one more thing. Let's click on credentials. And then you'll notice here in this layout, we can select delete and it will take us back to the delete credentials page one more time. So there's a number of different ways that you can get to delete within credentials. But we can also delete credentials by using the Jenkins CLI. Now, if you've never used the Jenkins CLI before, I've covered that in a different video. The link to that video is down in the description. So let's figure out what commands we need to run in order to delete credentials using the Jenkins CLI. So we'll go to Manage Jenkins. We'll scroll down to Jenkins CLI and let's look for delete credentials. And then we have a delete a credential. Now I have to admit this command is a little confusing. Delete credentials, that's simple. The store is pretty simple. Remember our store is system, but then we have the domain. This is where it gets a little tricky. And then finally, the credential. So the proper way to delete the credential using the Jenkins CLI is as follows. Let's go ahead and take a look at the command prompt for that. So what we have is delete credentials. We have our store. Remember, this is the store. So it's system, Jenkins. Again, remember I said it's a little bit confusing. Then our domain. In this case, our domain is the underscore. And then finally, the credential is the ID for the credential. In our case, it was user1-userpass. So let's go ahead and go back over into our credentials. We can see that we have our user1 userpass ID still listed within the credentials list. Let's go ahead and go back in and hit enter. Now, if we go ahead and refresh our credentials page, what we're going to see is that user1 credential has now been deleted. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach out to us on Twitter at CloudBees. If this video was helpful to you, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to CloudBees TV yet, why not? Take a moment, click on that subscribe button, and then ring that bell, and you'll be notified anytime there's new content available on CloudBees TV. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.